Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Insight 2.0. This is the architecture session, and we have two amazing speakers for you guys who are going to share the experiences as an architect. So we also had one more speaker, Natasha Chawla, but she couldn't join for some family reasons. So she has a message for you all, and she will share it. So you will get to know about her. And she sent a very motivating message for you all. So just give me a moment. I'll share it for you all.
Till then, Amol, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, hey guys, I'm 𝐚𝐭𝐜𝐡. I recently graduated from JJ College of Architecture last year in October. I topped my batch, but I am currently working as a creative illustrator at 𝐀𝐦𝐨. I am deciding to change my fields. Why, I'll get to that and reasons. But otherwise, yeah, I graduated from 𝐴𝐺 in 2015 ISC, but I've been studying in 𝐴𝐺 since 4th grade. And yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah. Just a brief introduction.
That is really great.
I hope you all can see the screen.
Yes, Pratham.
Yeah.
Hi guys, due to a family emergency, I won't be able to be there for the seminar, but I would love to wish you all the best for your future. And I hope few of you all, if not all, end up choosing architecture as a field because it has loads of scope when it comes to creativity. And we would love to see change makers in the world. In case you all have any questions and doubts regarding this field and would love to ask me, I'm happy to help you. So put that down by the end of the seminar and I shall get back to you then. All the best. Hi guys.
That's an amazing session, you all. So we start with the presentation right now.
Yes.
I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Natasha, as you all saw in the video, she couldn't join us for her reasons, but we have Amol, and we also have Nishcha Singh with us, who is also an architect, and he'll be giving you all tips and about architecture. He'll be talking about architecture. So let's begin. So what is architecture and what are the skills you'll require to become an architect? Over to you, Anmol.
So architecture is a creative field. It's design. It's a lot different from your usual fields because there's no right and wrong answer to this. It's all about being how creative and creative designs you can bring. So, and generally, I would say, you know, buildings. You want to construct a building, it's everywhere. You're going to find that. But then it's not just that, there's a lot more detailing that goes into it, like how you can do, there's many different types of architecture where you can, of course, there's a building, there's housing, there's urban planning, which is on a large scale, and you can design city. Just interior design could also, as a another core field in architecture. then yeah, I think it's kind of sort of explanatory what architecture is. That's how we can speak about it briefly. Yeah. What kind of skills you need to get into architecture? You don't have to be an artist. I think a lot of people are worried about that fact, but it's as long as you know how to sketch a little bit, that's all right. You need to have, right now, I think there's a rule to be from a science background to join architecture. So that's a necessity, but otherwise, I wouldn't say that there's a lot of technique, at least maths and physics or anything. There's not too much you're gonna have to deal with. It's majorly design, but there will be a portion of that, which I'll get to in detail, what is exactly there. And yeah, as I would, if you have the passion and you want to make buildings, then yeah, you should definitely get into architecture. Yeah.
So coming
What
to
degree?
Yeah, Anmol, you can just take it over.
What degree do you need to be an architect? To get into architecture, you need to give NATA or JEE Mains Paper 2, but JEE Mains Paper 2 only limits you to some colleges, I think, like IIT Roorkee and different IITs which are trying to architecture. But NATA is the paper you want to study for. That will give you the chance to join most colleges like JJ, RISV, Krivia, Raja, Rachna, Sansad. So yeah, NADA is the one you want to focus on. But it's not just an exam. I'm not sure what the situation is in the pandemic right now, but at least for me, 6 years ago, boards was equally important because your boards percentage will be used to calculate your score. Like your NATA paper is out of 200 marks. So whatever score you get in your NATA paper, half of that will be added to your board percentage. That will be your score, and that will be used to as the cutoff to get into any college. So and that being said, the top colleges, I think, are next slide. Rototi.
Yeah, so
Has
the top
my
colleges.
screen?
No, can you see the screen? Hello?
Yes, I can see the screen. I think Amol's
I guess, yeah,
network is lagging.
Network is a little lagging.
I just texted him, yeah.
Yeah.
Nishchay, would you like to add something?
Yes. So as you can see on the screen, these are the top colleges in India at present, and like you do not need to be a topper for getting into these colleges. You need to be creative, and architecture is all about creation. So it's okay if you're not a good sketcher, but if you are creative, you can excel in this field.
Yeah, sorry, I think my net got cut off.
Thank you for your inputs, Nishchay.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, Nisha, you can carry on.
I'm done. Sorry, like I'm a little busy in work, so yeah.
Yeah, sure. Wherever did everyone last hear me?
Yeah, the top colleges. You can just continue with that.
Right. So top colleges, definitely School of Planning and Architecture in Delhi. There is Sir J.J. College of Architecture. There is Rachna Sansad, RISV, School of Planning and Architecture again in Bhopal, and Kamla Raja. So a lot of great colleges. Yeah, again, I will give my detailed insight on how JJ was. I'm sure Nishay can give it insight from the college he's from. But yeah, it's though JJ has its number one or number 3, I'm not sure what rank it is now, but it used to be pretty high rank. It's not that amazing in terms of faculty, but still the work is pretty great what you get to kind of get to do there. So I'll get to that. But how do you want to give NATA? What do you want to study? There are a lot of course classes you can do. I think Silica BRDS, all these classes, or any classes which are in your area. There's a lot of which you can do. But I, for one, I didn't go for classes to get into architecture. So I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but it can definitely give you an edge, a deeper understanding on how to do it. I asked my friends who are going to classes, like, what are they studying? And I just referred that. But yeah, it's definitely suggested that you should check out what kind of paper you're going to do, and you could ask, do a crash course or something. It's definitely a good idea. A book, I'm just going to write the name of a book which I referred back then. It's a book by Arihant. Small book, but it was pretty enough for me to understand what I need to do for the paper. Yeah.
I agree to what Amol is saying. So during my time also, I took a crash course for like 6 months, and then I appeared for AIEEE. That time AIEEE was also one way of getting into architecture. But now I guess it has changed a lot, and Anmol can tell you more about it. But yeah, he's going right.
So yeah, and that's kind of it. But in the end, it is about, the paper will have a lot of this. As much as I know, the paper was divided into 2 halves. The first half has a drawing paper. You have to do some 2D compositions, some memory drawing. They will test you on your 3D visual, and how much can you really understand perspectives. If you guys know what 1-point and 2-point perspectives are, that's great. But otherwise, check it up, or you'll learn it from your class. So those are 400 marks. You got to ace that drawing area. But then again, the second half is just more on your general knowledge of architecture, and it will also ask some mathematical questions, like about a famous architect, or who designed this building per se, and some mathematical questions about how to really. They'll be testing your design knowledge and whether you can really grasp it, and how quickly. So, and a lot of MCQs, but that general knowledge is, that part of the paper is pretty tough. So classes would help that, or probably just going through a lot of books. Yeah. You can go to the next slide.
I would also like to add one point. People who are in your 9th and 10th standard, you guys have this subject called technical drawing, right? That subject also really helps to develop that skill. You have ISO, you have orthographic, and all. You have to make those drawings. It really helps in your architecture, and it gives you a vision while creating anything. So it really helped me when I was in school. And Dodata sir was our teacher, and he really excelled me, and I was one of the toppers that time in that subject. Yeah.
So yeah, I was a 2020 batch pass out. So for us, there was no TD. Like right now, there's no TD in our school, not offering. So, but I don't know, in the future years, maybe there could be TD and they can just teach you all. But yeah, for now, I knew that there was no TD, but there was art as an option for 9,
Okay.
10, 10. Yeah.
Okay.
What is it like to be as an architect? I think before we get to that, I will talk about the life it is that as an architecture student, what kind of subjects you will get to learn, what will you get to really design, how much science is there really going to be there, how much art creativity is going to really be there. And then I can talk about how it was to be as an architectural intern, because that's the practice I had. But as how it is, what really the experience is to be an architect, Nishya can give you a more detailed approach. And after that, I will give an approach of how, if you don't want to continue with architecture, how does that degree really help you to get into other design fields, which I'll be talking about. But then I'll first talk about how it is to be a student. It's the next slide, or should I just start from here?
Yeah, you can start from here. Do you want a screen share? Like, should I give you that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, stop. Screen share.
I can screen share, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Just before I continue, I just want to say like what really it feels like to be as an architecture student. So I'm going to be very real with you guys. Like, I wish there was someone who told me before I came into architecture, but that's why I'm here. Architecture stuff, like really, really tough. Like, I'm just gonna screen share a PPT I just made from Rust 5 minutes before coming over here. So yeah, it's tough. It's going to be one of the most hardest 5 years of your life that you're going to deal with. It's really tough. Like this is how you're going to be in first year, doing some drawings and having fun, and by the final year you're going to be like some kind of maniac. That's how I'm pretty sure Nishay relates to this meme over here, because it's true.
Yeah, it's
going to be
totally
tough.
true. Yeah.
But on the positive aspect, you're going to be pretty badass. Come on, you're an architect. If anyone's seen How I Met Your Mother, you know Ted Mosby is badass, right? Like, it's so cool to say you're an architect, but it's going to be really tough. Just a funny image. This is my girlfriend before architecture. This is my girlfriend right now. She's in 4th year. She's currently dying. But yeah, it gets pretty tough. So you're gonna have to do with a lot of sleepless nights. You're going to have to work long hours. There's going to be crazy amount of submissions that will just keep on rallying up, and it's not going to be. You're gonna get dark circles for sure. But it's also equally rewarding once you really make your design and you see it actually work, and you see the faculty approve it, and you can see how and you make your 3D sketches or models and your sections, and you see how that work really progresses. It's really rewarding to feel that. But yeah, so the kind of subjects you will get to learn in architecture are your main subject, which is architectural design, where you get to really make a plan, a building or structure, make the plan, and then you'll progress on making sections and your elevations and your 3D model. That's your core subject. That's what architecture is. Then your next subject would be where you actually study and somehow manage to learn how to do the building construction of it. Your professors will guide you, and in various details, like your first year, you learn about how a simple brick, right? You can learn so much about a simple brick and the various formations you can do with it. And then slowly you progress on more advanced techniques. You're going to also learn in detail about doors and different kinds of walls, different kinds of slabs and columns and beams and everything that helps your building stand. So one part you're going to design, next part you're going to learn how to make it, construct it, which is equally important. So those are two core subjects which you'll be learning. Other subjects will be there, like humanities, or where you learn history of architecture, about architects, and a new core fields like Then following on the building construction subject, there's also a subject called theory of structure. This is where your science background will come into play, where you will do some maths and physics. It's not going to be too extensive, don't worry about that, but it will be, it's going to be amounted there. It's pretty easy, honestly. I would say that you'll be able to, if you're from a science background, it's going to be a piece of cake. So honestly, not much of difficulty in science part, but yeah, more about the design. There will be a subject like urban design, which will come into your 3rd, 4th, and 5th years. And that will be more on a larger scale of planning, road layouts, pattern, and how buildings and users can really function in a specific area. Those are the main core subjects, I would say. Are there any other core subjects? Architectural theory is there, where that will help you understand architectural concepts and how you develop. I will show my work from my 2nd and 3rd year work of how I really did my design process and really came to my final design. So that will give you a brief understanding of how you really will do some work in architecture. And are there any other core subjects? Nisha, if you can help me out here.
I think you have covered most of the subjects according to me.
That's the
And
main subjects.
Yeah, but like you have, like when you progress ahead and you go in your fourth year, so for from colleges to colleges it's differ. So some colleges has in the fourth year you have to do internship for 6 months or a year, and some colleges it is fifth year. So it depends on college to college, and you also have your thesis in your final year, which uh, which which is like your own project. So you have to decide on what you want to design, what will be the brief of the entire design, and how are you going to proceed. So it's completely your project, and you need to convince your faculty and other people like how you are going through that design and how can you profit from that design. So thesis is like your project. In rest of the years, you will be given a project and you need to execute it. So the final year is the most crucial year when you need to actually show your talent. So, and
Right,
you
this way.
also have some optional subjects. Like during my time, there were optional subjects. So there was a subject which dealt with real estate market. There was one more subject which dealt with interior designing. They used to teach about the materials, like what all can be used in interiors and how do you go ahead with interiors. And there was also a subject which used to teach you about parametric design, and how can you build a parametric design in your laptop. So you must have seen designs of Zaha Hadid and all. So those are parametric designs. So how to build that? How can you bring that model in real life? So, and then there are these softwares that you come across during your course. So the most basic software that you'll come across is AutoCAD. And after that, I would say SketchUp. Then now the most important software that you need to know at present is Revit, Rhino, because these softwares are very very much used in abroad countries. But in India at present, AutoCAD is the thing to go with. But it's better to learn Revit or Rhino for now. If you're planning to go abroad for your master's or want to look a job abroad, you need to know these softwares. Then.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, so Nisha just gave you a really good brief view of how what you learn in your 5 years of architecture. Just going on step by step on that. Your first and second years would be all hand drafting. You won't be really using much softwares, but you will be having electives which will help you learn. But from your third year, you will really be extensively using softwares like AutoCAD, SketchUp, Rhino, Revit. But yeah, in your first year, it's all about hand drafting and more on, there'll be a lot of conceptual subjects to really broaden your mind on architecture. And you won't be in the constraints of the building construction. They will kind of give you that freedom. From second year, it starts getting more intense. You'll have another subject, which will be interior design. You'll get to do one interior design for one whole year. And that's, as an architect can become an interior designer as well. That guarantees you that process. And you will get to learn some softwares. Third year will be the toughest year maybe in your 5 years of architecture, because you will have your university papers, and there will be a new subject which they will introduce called working drawing. I don't want to get into too much detail, but I can just show you an image from my portfolio. So this is my portfolio before my internship, but yeah. So working drawing is a really technical drawing of your plans and your sections and your elevations. So this is one of the subjects which are really important, because honestly, when you graduate and you join firms, they are going to expect you to do this the most. So this subject has made a lot of people cry. You're going to break down for sure during this year. But yeah, it's a very important part. Your fourth year is very important because you will get to go for your internship in semester 8. That's 6 months of wherever you want to work at, wherever you can get into work at. It's a great experience to really know how it feels to be an architect. You will also get to learn mass housing in your fourth year, where you're actually designing residential buildings and housing, and it could be anywhere depending where they choose a site, but it's interesting. Also, you will get to work with contours. Right now, you're probably imagining like flat land, but then how would you really design a structure on a contoured land? That's also an important aspect. You'll learn about how to make your building earthquake resistant, which is a really important core subject these days. Your final year, and once you come back from internship, is again going to be really tough because this is where you should be pretty much an architect at this point, because your core fundamentals will all be clear. You will go into more depth into urban design, but more importantly, you'll start your, I'm sure in different cases of India, the syllabus will be different, but at least in Mumbai, your semester 9, you will get to work on your book, which is your thesis book. And that's 6 months of just writing down. That on the basis of that book in your last semester, you will get to make your design for your thesis. That will, that's really important. That's the thing that's going to define you as an architect, who you are, what kind of architecture you do, and that's going to define you as an architect when you graduate to any firm you go. That's the project you want to focus on. That's the big one. I will talk about my thesis as well. Well, I'll just go through my years of work and show you what really kind of stuff you get to do, and then I'll show you my thesis as well. Yeah. Anything you want to add on to that, Nish?
I guess you have covered pretty much everything. Yeah, you can carry on.
Sure. So this is my folio before internship. I'll show you my folio after graduating as well. There's a huge difference in maturity and design and aspects, but the kind of work you will wanting to do in first year, the kind of work you should be doing, I'll just show you. So some sketches I do and during college and stuff. This is my second year project, which was hand done. So I had a simple concept. This is the conceptual stage where the coding ratio was the concept, which isn't really that, which I realized later, but just talking about it, it's an interesting concept. And I took that forward, trying some design variables where the sketches and thought process and kind of romanticizing what really this design could look like. And then taking that into a literal form where you can see the plan now. Again, it's hand done, so it's not looking really neat, but you can see the whole spaces where these are your rooms, your auditorium spaces, your multipurpose rooms, your admin area, how you really enter your structure, and various designs which you'll get to learn. But yeah, this is something she'll get to do in the starting years. This project of mine, I was told by my in charge I'm gonna fail. That's the first time I really broke down my college, because I worked so hard and I was told like, you're gonna fail. That's when the next month I pulled a huge amount of all-nighters and I worked a lot. And then I managed to finally top with this subject in my second year. But yeah, it was really intense and tough. Like, can you imagine like this most simplest design which you think could either make it or break it? You really have to get into your design and leave no room for errors. Because honestly, architecture, there's no wrong answer to architecture. It's not a simple maths equation which you're going to do, like integration, you get the answer. Organic chemistry, you mix your chemicals and find the correct way to do it. Because there's infinite ways you can go about design and make it right, and there are infinite ways you can also go wrong. But that's what we architects are here for. We're trying to find the optimal solution to really make your design work. So that's where, I feel like if you're not really pulling an all-nighter, does that make you good or bad? There's no clear definition. But if you're pulling an all-nighter and if you're working all night and throughout the day, then that's also a good thing, because that shows that you are you know what you're designing, you know how you're always thinking about how you can make it better, because there's never going to be a satisfaction level to your design. There's always going to be room for improvement. And that's when you don't stop working. That's where you work throughout all the night. Because I know I have a lot of classmates who have who had a really chill 5 years. They did nothing, but their designs are also that pathetic. Not saying that obviously that's the way, but obviously by my 5th year, I was actually sleeping well enough and doing my design really well because I had matured enough. But yeah, there's many ways you can go about this. So don't be afraid of pulling all-nighters. That's more of a decision thing you do, but it can help definitely. So just want to elaborate on that. Going more onto my portfolio. Yeah, these are some of the views and the same. You have to make handmade models of your designs. This will happen pretty much every semester. This is a handmade model of the design which I made in my 2nd year. Some sections I designed, you can see some humans and how the building. So over here, we didn't really have to work about the building construction till this point. So this might not really work in its actual aspect, but this is more about the design itself. So by 3rd year, this is my semester 6, where you really do get to learn softwares. So you can see I've made my 3D model actually on SketchUp, and there's a concept level again. There's some zoning you get to do. I have to study the kind of users which will really be interacting with the space, because you will learn extensively that phrase you'll learn a lot. Form follows function. You can make a really badass looking design, but if it doesn't really cater to the user and how a person or yourself will really progress to design, then it's pointless. So you first have to think about how this will really interact with your area, your site, with the people who are really going to interact with it, and then you really go on to make how your form is going to be. So that's a criteria you'll always need to remember. These are some more, you can see the planning and the sections are all done with softwares at this point in 3rd year. You'll get to learn Photoshop a lot. This was my semester 4, 2nd year project. Again, it was hand done. This was in your semester 4, you'll get to actually do a rural site project where you not in the city. So you'll get to work with local materials. You'll have site visits and you get to see what kind of materials really work. So around Mumbai, around the outskirts of Safale or Virar, we had to choose a site from there. So there's a beach nearby and you find a lot of bamboo over there. So then that's where you think, okay, since there's a lot of bamboo in that area, I can use bamboo as my core material to really do my design. So that's where the thought process of using bamboo over here comes. So your design has to be site sensitive, area sensitive, and also very sustainable, because sustainable is now a necessity in architecture, considering climate crisis. These are some more hand done. You can see there's some details over here regarding bamboo, what kind of lengths, ratios, what's really the construction going to work like, and how can that work, and how can that be weather sensitive as well, where your sunlight is going to come, how much wind, ventilation. There's a lot of various details, which I'm not going to get into, but which will have to come into play later on. Then in your 4th year, you'll get to do something which is semester 7, mass housing, which is your residential housing. This is something which happens a lot in India. This is something where you will probably be working in your internship or even after you graduate. So you'll get a really large site, you get to do planning. Again, you have to cater to the users and their use cases, and you can build on a concept and you have to do calculations over here. You can see this, the bunch of building and structure and everything. So yeah, you can see you have to do a detailed room planning, how much area, and the final layout of the staircase, lobby, and building itself. So that's what you'll get to do in your 4th year. This is elective work, which you get to do. Second. This is my interior design project. I made a book cafe. This was again hand done interior design. You can see the plan and your sections and your elevations need to be as detailed enough to find every detail. You also get to make handmade models of your interior design project. This is Another core subject, which I forgot to mention, is which you get to do in your third year, is landscape. Landscape design. You can, even when you graduate, you can also become a landscape architect. You don't really work towards designing structures, where more as you will help other architecture firms, or maybe it's already done building a long time ago. You get to do the landscaping for it. So you can go into detail about what kind of trees, what kind of bushes, and the kind of recreational areas you should be designing. You get to do a lot of details in that aspect. So landscaping design is also a very important subject which you can go to. Some planning, like you can see the detailing, like what kind of really materials I'll use, like in the outdoor recreational area, what kind of road material will it be, what kind of tiling will I use, and etc. And one second. You can see landscaping, the kind of trees. You can also mention the heights, the foliage, what kind of bushes and plants and flowers. Everything has to be really in detail over there. You can see this is another hand-done landscape project which I've done. Working design, yes, one of the most important subjects which you will learn in your semester 6. This is really important. As I said, most firms will actually be judging you on your work, on the basis of your working drawing. Because it's just not just judges your design, but also judges your technical aspects. Just some competition work I did. Make sure you work on your do some competitions in your 5 years, because that's important to show that you're also willing to explore yourself, expand yourself in other various projects. Some hand-done work I had done. I was elected as the graphics head in my 3rd year. So you can obviously join the student council. So because of my background in art and graphics, I was given the opportunity to be the graphics head, where I got to handle like making calendars, magazines, and various events for like the college fest. Like I was the one who had to handle that, all merchandise and stuff, etc. So that's just my folio before 4th year. But I will now show my folio, which was, I'll show you my design thesis actually. Let me just find that 1 second. Can't really find my final thesis PDF over here at the moment, but it's also in my folio, which I will just show the tab. So this is my final year project. Now you can actually see the kind of difference in level of work that I really was doing in my 1st year and what kind of work I'm doing right now in my 5th year. I won't really go into what my thesis was about, but you can see the kind of detailing, the amount of level you really see in terms of the user aspects and what they really go through, the structural system, which you will have to design, of course, and the structural skin. So it works through various levels. This is my book. So I'm an artist. I was always an artist first. I don't know if many of you people have seen me. I don't know if many people of you know me, but in the art room in GEAA, a lot of my drawings are put up there with my name. If you guys have seen it or not, I don't know, but yeah, I'm very close to Ashish sir that way. So I always knew that and art is something which I've always been doing. So, and I even invested my internship into a drawing tablet by going to digital art. So I know that I'm an artist. So I had to make an illustrated view of my thesis. So that's why I made this. It's not something which many people do, but that's how I want to stand out by making illustrated view. So you can see my structure design was actually in Juhu, my site, just beside the metro. And there's these people looking into this structure as well, and while going on the way. So yeah, that was a key design. This is my section of my thesis. This is my plan, and you can see some views over here of how it really looks like in a more realistic approach and the concept behind all the functionalities of why the design. It's not just a design made aesthetically, but each part of the design has a core function that tackles climate and the usability for users. So yes, that was important. Yeah, that's my thesis over here. So yeah, thesis is the one you want to make sure you do the best, because that's where you can beat the system, because architecture is, again, it's design. There will be places where you don't submit things on time because you're late, you're working really hard, and you don't get the marks. And the jury system is actually flawed in India, where there's only one person who really judges your work, and another person will be judged by somebody else. So it's not really fair. So it's never going to be fair, honestly. You can keep doing your best work, but thesis is at one time where it's going to be the most fair, where marking is, you can beat the system. And that's how you get that chance. So yeah, it's a great opportunity. Something you should really look forward to once you join architecture in your final year. But yeah, that's the kind of work you get to do in your 5 years. Just wanted to go through that. Yeah, if you want to add anything to that, Nishray, then we can talk about what really it is to be like an architect.
But amazing portfolio, Amol. It's just amazing, like
Yeah.
to see the
Thank you.
portfolio part.
Yeah,
Thank
true.
you.
I mean, it is so beautiful and colorful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the kind of difference of what kind of first year stuff I was making in the fifth
Yeah.
year. Like, that's what you really expand on. Like, honestly, in my life in JJ, the faculty was shit. Like, come on, they didn't know anything. But where I really go to learn, and where all the students in JJ learn, is that kind of thing we've created from my seniors and junior. This is kind of born, where since I'm in Borivali, I have this chain of seniors who are all from Borivali, and anyone who's from Panvel or anything. But then that's the kind of work you see from your seniors. You learn from them. You go to them. You go to your doubts. They will guide you, and you also equally help them as well. Whenever their thesis or projects, their model making, you also help them. You get to learn. They create this kind of dynamic system, which happens in a lot of colleges, and that's where you really learn. You learn immensely from your seniors, and you kind of see that benchmark, and you want to reach there. So something which keeps the value. I would say JJ. So JJ has a lot of books. Of course, the first fact is that the name of the college. It's been here for a long time. It's been more than 100 years or something. But anywhere you go in the world, if you ask them you're from which architecture college and you say JJ, a lot of times the people will know the name because it's that famous and old. So that's a really huge advantage you have. But how is the life over there? It has a great campus. You get a good campus life, but the faculty, as I said, is not really great. There are some really good teachers, a lot of visiting teachers which come, but yeah, it's more about how you learn from the seniors and the level of benchmark they've maintained, which is what really JJ is all about now. So yeah, there's a lot of great colleges right now. Like in Borivali, there's a college called School of Environment and Architecture. Yeah, it's amazing faculty over there, and a lot of other Raheja is also really great. Rachna Sansad has been coming number 2 also a lot of times, I think, in Mumbai. That's also another great college you want to check into. But all these colleges are more smaller. They don't really have a campus. JJ kind of gives you that. So you want to check if you want to check out that kind of life. But otherwise, on most cases, the kind of teachers and seniors you get to interact with in most colleges are going to kind of be equivalent. It's more going to be about you and how much effort you really put in yourself. You're not really going to get a chance to count on anyone that way. Yeah.
So right now, even you are giving a chance to your juniors to see and get inspired by you.
Yeah. Yeah. All the time, juniors keep coming again and again. I actually, I was like, let's put a story that I'm going to give this lecture today. I wish someone had given me, told me given me a brief about architecture. So that's why I'm over here. So I put a story on my Instagram saying, hey, I'm going to give a lecture. What do you guys? I'm going to warn everyone about how difficult architecture really is. And some responses were kind of funny. Some said, tell them to run. Some said, yes, please give threats. Some said, oh, why tell them to run? Tell them to join and let them suffer. That's an interesting dilemma. Some said he's a savior. And some said you'll be doing a social service for all. And then I asked the story, like, let's just put a poll. What's the right path? Should I tell them to save them? Should I save them by telling them what really architecture is, or should I let them suffer? And look at all these sadistic folks. They said, run, let them suffer, not save them. No, I'm here to save you guys. I'm giving you the truth of how architecture is. Others have been kind of romanticizing it, like how amazing it is, but it's tough. So if you think that there's a lot of amazing architecture out there globally, this is stuff done by 𝐵𝐴𝐴𝐻. It's really, really inventive and creative stuff. It's amazing. This is stuff done by 𝐍𝐢𝐬𝐜. It's the 𝐻𝐢𝐬𝐬 Center. It's another masterpiece. This is, I don't even know what this is, what the building name is, but it's amazing. It's insane. This is also done by 𝐍𝐢𝐬𝐜. So I think you're gonna get to do all that stuff? No, not in India. Because India's not as dynamic as what 𝐵𝐴𝐴𝐻 and these kind of things do, because we have more local material and the kind of setting we've created in Mumbai and different cities. Of course, there are very dynamic architecture you get to do. So you will get to do this kind of stuff. I'm just kidding. Maybe not. But yes, talking about kind of architecture that Indians get to do. This is something done by 𝐼𝐴𝐚𝐿𝐽 architects. You guys might know about Nehru Planetarium. It's another beautiful structure done by 𝐼𝐴𝐚𝐿𝐽 a long time ago. And this one over here is Symbiosis. It's coming up in Pune. This is also really interesting things they're doing. They're using local materials in the kind of elevations they're creating. This is another structure which is in Gujarat right now. It just recently was made the Auric Hall. This is also really great. Some interesting stuff that famous architects in the past have done, like Charles Correa. If any of you have seen this structure in Mumbai, you can find it in South Bombay, near Charni Road, I think. You can find this. It's called Kanchenjunga Apartment. This is done by Charles Correa. It's a brilliant building. If you get the chance to go there, do check this building out. It's amazing. Something done by Louis Kahn in IIM Ahmedabad. Really famous design. I don't have a really good image over here, but he used to use a lot of strong circular forms in his design, in his static elevations, which is really interesting what he's done. This is something done by Sanjay Puri Architects. He does a lot of dynamic architecture. I love dynamic architecture, if you've seen through my portfolio, my designs. So I love the kind of work he does. So yeah, I'm not saying that you're not going to get to do any of that stuff. It's definitely there in India. Interesting things, but it's probably not as crazy as things like 𝐍𝐢𝐬𝐜 and 𝐵𝐴𝐴𝐻 have done. But yeah, there's really interesting sustainable architecturally sites and you're going to get to do a lot of that. But I'll just give you alert on what's the scenario last year. In 2020, around March, the Supreme Court stated that anyone can practice architecture as long as they don't call themselves an architect. So that's going to lead to a lot of problems, because there were going to be other people around who are going to offer architecture services at a cheaper rate than compared to architects. So that's going to really make different things difficult. So you're probably going to see a lot more stuff like, what really happens is that this kind of stuff, like, what is that? The door is a staircase. The staircase going in a random wall. There's a lot of really bad things. Like, look at this thing that they've done. This is completely useless. The steps that go, this escalator, which leads to more steps. And then you have these horrible, like, what was the guy thinking when designing this? That's messed up. And then the classic one over here where the person's climbing and he reaches a dead end. So I've seen a lot of this kind of stuff while actually traveling Mumbai. It's kind of disappointing. But get ready to see a lot of that stuff if an architect wasn't really designing the structure. So that's probably, they had one job and they couldn't do that. But that's maybe a problem which will be faced. I think Nishit can give a more detailed review on how the impact of what the Supreme Court said will be on an architect and the firm. But yeah, just one thing saying, if you're going on vacation, this is kind of how it's going to be like, because there's no really vacation. You're going to be always working intensely. You might get a few weeks off, but yeah, you're always going to be working. Yeah, that's I can say about the life of an architecture student. How it really is going to be as an architect. I think Nisha can give me more feedback on that. I'll just speak about my experience in my internship. I interned at 𝐼𝐚𝐭𝐜𝐡 Architects. I got that great opportunity over there. The experience was really amazing. They actually treated me not as an intern, but as a junior architect. So they actually let me, so that's where you actually have to do a lot of working drawings, which I showed you, because most firms are going to expect you to do that before you actually get to the design stage. But they let me design some spaces, design some elevations, and that was a good opportunity. So really good firm to work at. But I think after my internship, I really felt more confident as an architect and in taking design decisions. But yeah, you'll get to learn a lot about building construction, details, specifications, and stuff like that. I think Nisha can give you more details about that right now, heading over the shift.
Nisha, are you there?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, Anmol said it right, that whatever you learn in your internship is very crucial, because that's what is there in the real life. Like in the college duration, you'll learn more about design, but how do you execute it is what you learn in internships. You might not get that much opportunity to like participate in every aspect of the construction, but that's like the first step towards it. But once you graduate, that's when the real life starts, and it's not easy. If you are thinking that the life will be easy after you graduate, it is not at all. You cannot expect that your job will be from 9 to 5. It can be 9 to 5. It can be 9 to 10 in the night. It can go up to 1 o'clock also. It depends on what kind of work is going on in your office. And I would say practice makes a man perfect. So as much as you practice in the real life, you are going to learn every day something new. Like initially when I graduated, I didn't know much about interior designing and its materials, I would say. But as and when, like from past 4 years, I've been learning about interior designing more in depth. And now I've been doing multiple projects in interior designing. And in between, I was also doing freelancing work for stall design, and it fetched me a job also in between. Like I worked there for 6 months, and there's this event which happens worldwide called CPHI. That's a medical event that happens in Frankfurt. So I had to design 10 stalls for them. I can show you some designs, like the stall design work that I had done. I was there as a consultant, construction consultant, and I had to make all the construction drawings for them. So I'll just share that with you.
Yes, sure.
Okay. So this is just my freelancing job portfolio. Okay. So you must have heard BDR Pharma. So this was the stall design that we had planned to do. And my main job is to how the entire structure will come up. So these are the detailed drawings that I had to do for them, because the main fabrication was going to happen in Frankfurt, and there was a back and forth between the people who were going to actually build that and my drawings. So it was a very big challenge for me to like make them understand the drawings, because the standards are quite different from India and Frankfurt. So you can see the details, like each and every dimension I have to mention. I have to take care about the design, like how the people are going to sit, how the people are going to, like what will be the flow of the walking distance. You also need to take care about your lighting, flooring, what materials you're going to use. So this is just like I'm just showing you this because after doing architecture, you do not need to only construct buildings. You can go into other fields also. So, and after I was done with this project, I was involved with textile ministry for a project, and that was also like a 6 month project for me, which was a renovation of a government building. So, and currently I've been practicing on my own, and I've been doing my interior designing work. I do not have that portfolio with me right now. I haven't jotted down everything. So it's just what I got. So I'm just showing you that. So most of these drawings are done according to a very temporary based structure. So in architecture, you do everything permanent, but in this field, everything is temporary. It is just there for like 5 to 10 days. So you need to think about it. You cannot use materials which are too expensive also, but it should still look good. So this is my part-time job that I do. And yeah, in real life, I would say you need to equally work hard, like how you should do in your college time. And that's what will fetch you. For like 10 years, do not think about socializing much. Do not think about like you're not sleeping well or about any of the stuff. Just be focused about how you're going to proceed ahead. What is your goal? 10 years is a duration that you need to give to architecture to be the best. Without that, it's too difficult to grow in this field. So yeah, it's only been like 4 years for me, so I can't really say much. But yeah, it's been a very really tough. Anmol, you want to carry on?
Yeah, sure. An advantage you get when you become an architect is that you get a license. You get a license to open your own firm, and you can get your own clients and work. So some things I mentioned, that in India specifically, the pay for an architect is really low, and that's at fault because of how the architectural community has really brought that down on themselves. But yeah, the pay is definitely low, and it will be difficult to get up there. Maybe especially Mumbai is low, but cities like Delhi, Hyderabad, and Bangalore have a more better pay over there. It's more normalized over there. But yeah, but in general aspects of more career options which you have, it is difficult. Also on the fact that if you do start your own firm, if you have contacts, that's great, because contacts and if you have a family background, that will definitely really help you. You should definitely go for making your own firm if you have that. But if you don't and you're starting from scratch, it's going to take you a long time, maybe 10 years, maybe 15, maybe it could be even really soon if you got that luck factor and that talent with you. But don't expect to have like a great because we were doing a job to get rich, right? You're not going to get rich being an architect, not at least very fast, if that's what you're thinking about. There's going to be a lot of dedication and work you'll have to put into. But yeah, if that's saying that the situation abroad, I would say is much better. In terms of like that, you can also start your own firm where you actually start working at a place. The life and like as Nisha said, the working hours, it's not going to be 9 to 5. Most likely every day you're going to have to overwork overtime. It's going to be 2, 3, 4. Maybe you might stay the entire night there as well at the firm. It's going to be difficult. That's something I hate about that fact that they make you overwork, but that's just kind of what it's the kind of environment that's being created. It's become normalized, which is not a really good thing. But in that same case, abroad, I think it is much better. I've known a lot of architects who work in Germany and they're having a great life or I have my seniors who are currently have done their masters or doing their masters in US or in Europe, and they're also working there, and they've told me the scenario is much better. So that's why I want to be really honest with you. And life as an architect in India will be very difficult. Yeah, I think Natasha would have given you a good overview because she started her own firm. She thinks in a few years since she started her own firm. So yeah, that's a really great. It's a really big step to take, but it's a good thing. Yeah, I can tell you that. I guess that's pretty much about life as an architect. I'll speak about how it is if now let's say you've done your 5 years of architecture and you don't want to do it anymore. That's me. That's where I come in. So so just some brief more info about me. I was born in Abu Dhabi and I was brought up in Canada, and then I came over here. So then I had a lot of perspectives around the world, and that kind of got me into architecture. And that was one thing that piqued my interest. But before more than that, I was into art. Like, as I said in my talk classroom is my art. I've won a few art competitions and stuff. So I'll just showcase some of my work. So some of my hand done drawings and stuff. This is something which I've always been doing, and I always stuck to it. Like when I was in Gundicha, I won some art competitions. I came second in Mumbai, I came first, or times I've been, and I like. So yeah, that GEAA was like a good step. Like even the Polera magazine, I designed that college magazine cover for when Gundicha completed 10 years. If any of you have seen that. Yeah, I was the one who designed that cover. So
amazing.
Yeah. So those are some things. So I was always into art. So I'll be very honest. I didn't want to be an architect. I wanted to go into animation or design, basically. But Indian parents. So to escape engineering, I came into architecture. Like at least I was too connected to design, and it was tough. So some feedback I want to give on that fact. If you're really passionate about architecture, go for it. But if you're just thinking like, it's cool, you think it's going to be cool and it's going to be fun, don't go with that concept. Go really well known about what really architecture is, because I got to know that when I got into it. And man, that was tough. But fact was that I had a lot of concepts. I was pretty good at it. And finally in my I still stuck to my core values of being like graphic design or actually doing art. I kept doing it in my third year as a graphics head. So I got to do a lot of graphic designing work. And as that gave me some confidence. And then even in my internship at 𝐼𝐚𝐭𝐜𝐡 Architects, the principal architect, Rahul Kadri, had asked me to do some illustrate. He knew I was good at graphics. So like, can you make the PPT, all the illustrations for my project? And I was like, oh yeah, sure, awesome. So that gave me confidence that these guys know that I have a good graphic sense. So I used my internship money and I bought myself a drawing tablet and I got into digital art. That's where I come into stuff like this 3D view that I made, or a self-portrait, some art about Joker, Yoda, and Stranger Things. And I got really into digital art. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is an artwork I made of my JJ campus. It's got really big. I've actually been asked to paint this on the college wall. So that was pretty cool. So I know a lot of stuff like that I'm into digital art, and that's where my core values really lie, which I really want to get into. So I was like, okay, this is my last year in architecture. Let's just give it my all, right? Like now that I've decided. So I topped my batch. So then that thought keeps coming, right? Like, okay, I'm good. I'm an architect. I'm actually pretty good at this. Why do I want to leave? So that's where I want to give that advice, that don't be afraid to choose what you really want to do, what you're really passionate about. I love architecture. I'm not disrespecting. Architecture is amazing. And I still get second thoughts, like I want to do architecture again. But still my core passion lies over here at my art. So I taught my batch, but then I still have enough courage to say that, that's not what I want to do. I'm getting like a lot of offers from a lot of architecture firms that they want a top tier architect who knows Revit, who knows Rhino and a lot of other softwares in which I'm really well versed in. And they want me, but then I still like saying, hey, no, I'm not going to go with that direction. So it takes courage, but then that's where I want to talk about what options you really have if you want to change from architecture. So now let me say, can a graphic designer become an architect? No. Can a UI UX designer become an architect? No. Can a product designer become an architect? No. But can an architect become all of that? Yes. As an architect, you're going to get to learn a lot of, you're going to build on your visual sense, on your graphic sense, because of the kind of softwares and the renderings you're going to learn as an architect. You will be able to graphic design. That's a tick mark over there. You're not going to be a graphic designer, but you can get into it because you've developed that kind of visual understanding. And because of how you understand what a user really caters to in your designs, you will be able to get into UI and UX, which is about mobile app and website building towards a user. So you can also get into dev on a more deep understanding. That's what I'm kind of doing right now. I'm doing a lot of product design. I want to get into animation. Can you get into animation? Yes, you can. Anyone can. As long as you can sketch, you can. That's a more deeper field, but you can get into it. Of course, you will get to learn interior design in the second year. So you can also become an interior designer after you graduate. There's a lot of money. Actually, I would say there is a lot of money in interior design. That's something which a lot of people can do. Actually, a lot of people, when they start their firms, they do a lot of interior design work as well. That's also there. So I knew that I want to be, and yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry to cut you in. There's a question in the chat box that which software was used for the digital art which you showed before this?
Yeah. I used heavily Photoshop and Clip Paint Studio. This one over here, Clip Studio Paint, Photoshop, Illustrator as well to certain degrees. So these three softwares were my illustration softwares. Architecture, I used heavily, I just mentioned it in the start. If you guys can take a screenshot or can note this down. So these are some softwares I had to learn. AutoCAD, Revit. Just be saying, oh, I hate AutoCAD, but it's a great tool which you will learn, the first tool you will learn. Once you get to learn other softwares like Revit, some softwares like Vectorworks, Rhino, you'll understand there's more deeper levels to what you can do, tools you can use to design. You should definitely learn these softwares. SketchUp is also a great tool. But when you learn other softwares like Rhino and Revit, you start learning that these are, so currently in the architecture field, there are softwares which are more in demand, like Revit, because it's a BIM software. You can actually construct your building on that software in a more detailed approach. So that's more in demand. So that's something you want to keep an eye on. Then Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Clip Studio Paint, softwares which I use for my illustration purposes and my architectural renderings a lot. Yeah. Was that the only question? I can't really access the questions while sharing my screen.
Yeah, that was the only question. If anyone has any other questions, please put it out in the chat box and we'll definitely answer it out for you.
Okay, Amol, I wanted to ask you, what is the difference between interior designing and architecture? I mean, since we saw that whole, PPT by Nishchay, we saw that he was designing the interiors, like they were all chairs and everything. Like I am interested into all of that, but does it, is it more into interior designing or is it into architecture?
So I would say interior design is a part of architecture. It's a field, a subject which becomes a part, like architecture is your main core field. So it depends on the case. So when you really do design a building, just to say, a building or any structure, that will be on the macro level. But when you really get into the details, you will also have to think about interior. When you're designing a building, when you're designing a wall and the window, you have to think in the aspect that it should also be, you can also do interior design to that. You can't just make a room or like in any shape and form you want. You have to think in the micro level aspects as well. Where should the door placement be? Where should the windows come? There should be enough spacing for a false ceiling to come. There should be that kind of tiling which you provide, and the kind of lighting, and where you really give your electrical sockets, and the kind of water piping you want to give. So all of that also comes into play from the macro level. And when you really get into interior design, you will design, like, you got to make your room look cool. You got to make that place, that hall, multi-purpose hall, or auditorium, you got to make it look really nice. So you'll get into more data into materials. Like, you will actually get a chance to design the chairs, the what's it called, the stage, or lighting. What kind of chandeliers do you want? What kind of colors do you want? What kind of materials? What kind of texture do you really want people to be experienced? So that's a lot of detail into that we'll get to. So I hope that answers your question, that it's more of a another branch to architecture.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
like
rightly said.
sorry.
Sorry to
Do we need
interrupt. Yeah.
Yeah, do we need a science background even to pursue interior design?
I would say you don't even need a degree to pursue interior design. You can, as long as you can make your own interior design firm and have good work, if you're talented enough and you market yourself well enough, you can get into it. But yeah, I'm not sure about the interior design course. Like, if you want to get into architecture, yes, science background. But there are other interior design colleges itself. I am not sure about that. In case Nisha knows, but yeah.
I can brief you about it. So in interiors, you really do not need to be in science background. It's more about creation, and it's more about the interiors, like the materials. In interiors, you will learn more about materials related to, like, what paint, color, different types of color. You will have to learn about the color palette in depth, and then the flooring material, what all material you can use for your furniture. So it's more about getting into depth into material and then designing something out of it. But in architecture, you do look into that aspect also, but your core aspect is first bringing the structure up, which is your main building. So you are more majorly focused on that first, and then you come down to interiors designing. So as Anmol rightly said, an architect can do multiple projects, like anything related to design. But if you want to go specifically, like going to interior designing or UI UX or anything of that sort, you cannot do architecture then. So going from architecture to those fields, like doing masters in UI UX or going into interior designing masters and all, you can do that. But after you do interior designing, you cannot come back to architecture. So architecture is the core for everything, I would say.
Okay, thank you so much.
Even visual, like game design, video games, there's that kind of games require architecture. You can do that. They require specialist architects to really design that stuff as well. So you can get into there as well.
Yeah. So in the field that he's talking about, it's more about like you play games, right? So you need to show that it's a realistic game. So how do you know that? That's the job of an architect, to show like what kind of detail will come into your games. So nowadays these field is also catching up a lot.
Amazing. Thank you.
Currently, I am working as an illustrator, and it's probably one of the best decisions I've taken. Like, I don't have to work extra hours. That's one thing. The life is it's great. I'm happy with my decision. I'm getting a good package. I'm getting probably the most in my batch, actually, the highest. And then, but that's also because I developed towards building that skill, which was my escape plan. But yeah, if there is something which also piques your interest while doing architecture, like graphic design, do graphic stuff, become the graphic side. If the stuff that you're interested in, UI, UX, the stuff that you're really into interior design or landscape design, make that your strengths, build under that. That's what I did, and that's what's helping me a lot right now. Like, my mom was worried about me, but she isn't anymore. But yeah, that's something you should think about. Build on your strengths and cores. Keep another plan if you think about it. Because a lot of my friends are like thinking that it's pretty difficult for them right now, and they're like they want to get out, but like they don't have a plan. So make sure you think very carefully on that.
Yeah, to plan out is the main thing. Like we need a plan. Plan B also for in that case. Yeah.
I also wanted to answer a question like if you are want to study. I think a question had come from someone from Gunich had asked me recently that should I study abroad my bachelor's? You can, but if you're going to go study bachelor's, it's amazing experience. I've known a lot of people who've done it. It's really great. But if you're going to come back to India, it doesn't make sense because while studying in India, you learn a lot of regulations and the system which is over here. It's important to study it over here. If you study there and come back, it's quite possible that you're going to have a really tough time. So only go there if you're going to work over there. But otherwise, if you study from here as well, your bachelor's, you can also very well go to master's abroad, and that's also a great opportunity to do that. So there's a lot of scope. Don't worry about like, I know I've scared you a lot of negative things I've said, but don't go too much onto that. There's a lot of opportunities and possibilities you have to pursue. Yeah.
Even for masters, I guess Nishchay would be able to tell us more about it because he's, I guess, pursuing masters right now.
Yeah, so I'll be starting my master's soon. So yeah, I'm going to do master's in construction management from Toronto. So yeah, so I would say if you do your bachelor's in India and then go abroad for your master's, it will still work, because first you need to decide on which country do you want to stay in and work. Okay, because if you do masters from abroad and come back to India, it really doesn't make sense because the laws change and you need to know laws for each and every country. Each and every country has a different law, right? So it will be a tough time for you then. And pursuing masters abroad is better in a way that you get more opportunity abroad, and because the number of MNCs in India are very limited, but abroad there are many more MNCs in architectural field. And yeah, that's it. Like I would say bachelor's in India and then going abroad is a better option for people who are looking now.
Yeah, that's great. So Amol, do you want to tell us more about your experience now as an illustrator? Or
Yeah, sure.
about
I'll just like briefly just go through my portfolio, like the kind of work I'm doing at my work firm right now. So I'm currently working as the illustrator. So I get to design I'm the only illustrator there at 𝐀𝐭𝐜. So I'm going to design the characters, what really will represent the company. This is not taking forward, but this is just something which I'd offer, like this option. Then I get to do a lot of other kind of illustrations for the social media and stuff. And I get to really work on the product side. I am helping them build their app. So I'm actually also becoming a product designer at the same time while I'm doing illustrations for them. So that's pretty great experience. Before this, I worked as a graphic designer. I got to do a lot of art over there as well, and stuff like, infographics or an album art cover for this program, a podcast. That was just some stuff I'm doing right now, but otherwise that has just been my digital art and stuff. Yeah, that's about it.
That's amazing. Do we have any questions regarding design or architecture? So please put it out in the chat so we can answer it. Or you can as well raise your hand and just ask it yourself.
Yeah, they can unmute themselves if they want.
Just to be clear, which years are over here? 9th and are also 12th standard students.
Yes.
So 8th onwards. So
Eighth.
yeah, 9, 10.
8th till 12th. Okay.
Yeah.
I have no
Okay.
questions, but thank you for helping me.
You're welcome.
That is really sweet.
Yeah.
So I think if we have no further questions, we can end the session. And thank you all for attending it. If you have any questions still and are shy to type or speak right now, you can put it on the group as well. Okay, and Amol will be answering them. He's there.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, we're here. And don't worry. Thank you for attending the session. And participants, you can start leaving now. Thank you so much, Amol. And
Thank you
Dodi.
so much for having me here.
Yeah.
I
Thank
request
you
you
so
to
much for
stay
talking.
back
Amol
for a
and
while. Amol and Dodi, just wait. We just wait for the participants to leave. Okay.
Thank you
If
for
anyone
attending.
does go into architecture, all the best. It's going to be a crazy ride.